Shula.
Woo!
My name is Shulamit Fried Kožuch. My maiden name is Fried, and my married name is Kožuch. I was born in Visau de Jos in Transylvania. It was a very small village with altogether 100 Jewish families. I come from a very wealthy family, very charitable people. And I would like to dedicate this tape for my children. The life in the village, the people were very poor. Most of them were living on charity. And my father helped a lot these people.
What kind of work did your father do?
And Lambert. Maybe my English is not so well.
It's fine.
We had about 500 employees. And then when I was older a little bit, I worked with him in the factory. When I was 17 years old, the Hungarian took over this Romanian area.
Let's go back a little bit, because I want to talk a little bit about the earlier years. I want us to hear about that. How many children were in your family?
We were 7 children, 6 girls and 1 boy. And I lost 5 of them in Auschwitz, and 1 sister right after the war. And we remained all together 2.
Where are you in the line?
I am the 5th in the line.
I see.
2 of them were married, and they have children. And they took him with the children to the crematoriums.
Can you talk a little bit about what life was like at home?
Yes. We was a big family, and we helped lots of people, and very religious, and very high morality. My father was with a beard, and my mother didn't have 1 piece of hair on her head.
You want to show a picture?
Yes, I will.
Tell us who.
This is my family. My parents in the middle. This is my older sister, who went to Auschwitz with 2 children. This is my second sister, who went to Auschwitz with 1 child. This is a twin. One of them lives in Israel, this one. That's me. This is my younger sister, and this is my youngest brother. He was 6 years old when he went to Auschwitz. All of them were in Auschwitz.
Did you live with extended family, grandparents?
Yes, I had, from my father's side, I had a very big family, and we were very, very close. We were, from both sides, we were 119 people. We remained 7. And today we are only 5. 2 of them died already, and 1 uncle who died also. The life in the village were very poor. The people were living on charity and on very small work. They worked in our factory a lot.
How were the relations between the Jews and the non-Jews in the community?
We had friends, we had non-Jews friends. As a matter of fact, I was very disappointed when I came back and I found out that my father's best friend, whom we gave lots of things to hide, did never want to give me back my mother's fur coat or lots of things from home, or jewelry or money. They didn't want to give us back. We worked with Gentiles and with Jewish people.
And relations were?
Fine, quite well. As a matter of fact, my father could never believe that his friends will do what they did to him when they took us to the ghettos, how they came in and they robbed everything, our closest best friends. So one of the reasons that we didn't hide also was because he never believed that they are going to take us to Auschwitz.
Do you have any particular good memories of those early years? Any things that stand out in your mind?
Yes, I had. It was a very peaceful family. We were very close, very loving, traditional. I miss him very much. Then the Hungarian came in.
Before we even get to that,
Okay.
tell us a little bit about your schooling. And
Yes, we didn't have only 4 classes in my village. And after 4 classes, I was very fortunate because they kept a tutor in my home. And I was studying German. As a matter of fact, I belong to the Deutsche Kultur that I never wanted to acknowledge. And I don't want to speak the German language to the very day. It was one of my best languages. I studied Hebrew. I studied Romanian. I studied Hungarian. I studied the Bible. I studied history, geography, everything I studied privately because we did not have schools.
there were no schools in your town?
Only up to 4th grade. After 4th grade, it's finished. But by being rich people, I always had the opportunity to study more than others.
Do you ever remember any resentment because your family had more money or?
It exists. It's natural that it's resentments. We were educated this way that I was never allowed to eat breakfast before I went to give charity food for other people. This was a policy of the house. All the 7 children used to take a kind of, from ceramic, a kind of dish, and we had milk because we had cows and we had sheep and we had bees and we had vegetables and we grow fruit and we had a big garden and we had help and we had to go from one house to another to bring first of all breakfast and food for other people. Then we were allowed to eat breakfast home. This kind of home I have. Every Tuesday the poor people used to come for money. So my mother used to get up 3 o'clock in the morning on Monday, Monday to Tuesday. She should bake because we didn't have bakeries. And the servants, we had live-in maids, used to help. We used to bake and cook and leave. We had such a big door, a big gate. She used to leave the gate open and the people used to come in, eat. We had rooms special with beds. They used to sleep. We give them money and they go further to ask for money in other villages. We lived for that. As a matter of fact, my father, who did business with Budapest at that time, that it was like going now to the moon. He found there a thrift shop and he bought all the merchandise from the thrift shop and he brought it home. When he passed the customs, the people who know him there told him, "How come, Mr. Fried, you are such a rich man? What are you bringing so much?" He said, "I have a big family." He didn't want to say why he brought it. And he brought it home. And before Passover, he used to stay in the window. And whenever a child passed, he used to think, come in, undress him and dressed him from head to toe, and make a package of his old stuff and send him out. That's the house that I was brought up. So we didn't have even, there was no car on my, no car, no telephone, no water installation. My father installed electricity in our house from the factory, who didn't go by electricity like here. It went by waterfalls. And when the water was weak, the electricity was weak. Or we had the first radio in the whole village that went on batteries. So the whole village used to come together to listen to the radio. It was something unusual. We had the only one telephone in our village. So if somebody needed a doctor or whatever they needed, they used to come to us, and we used to take care. It was a family, like, what should I say, that took care of the whole village. And they devoted themselves for that. They absolutely devoted themselves for helping people. A Saturday was something special. We were always 20, 25 people for dinner, or always guests, always poor people at the table for Shabbos, always poor people. Saturday my father never opened the mail that came. They never did any business, they never answered a telephone. It was strictly, I would say, holy. Only for Shabbos. And the children the same. We had a very big garden. We used to play in the garden. And the boys used to come and other girls from the neighborhood. We didn't keep ourselves, snobbish. We were friends with everybody. And we believed in that, and we were brought up like that. We didn't have water, so when we had to water the vegetables, we used to have a kind of pump. And we used to put there, the servants used to
like
pump the water,
Mm-hmm.
and we used to put it in some dishes, and we used to water the vegetables or the fruits or whatever. It was a very poor, primitive home. We had 9 rooms, a big house, and a very big garden. All the fruits that exist in the whole world, and flowers. But we were all down to earth. We were all helping home, working home. We had a river behind the house that we used to go swimming. It was nice. It was nice. Quiet.
Given how isolated it seems like your village was, did you?
No, we had not far away, about 4 miles. We had another village, and we had other villages. We used to go by carriage. As a matter of fact, I think I have here a wagon carriage. I don't know if we took the picture. No. Here I have the pumps that you can see. That's the way we pump the water. This is 2 children who went to Auschwitz with my sister. This is her 2 children.
So these were your nephews?
My 2 nephews. This is my house. We joked, we stayed in front of the door with my sister.
Mm-hmm. Where are you in the picture?
She came home from Auschwitz, and then she died. This is one of the twin sisters. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, we were chosen, those 2 of us, in Auschwitz for Mengele, as twins, because we looked alike. Not the 2 twins. They were not identical twins. So I had to convince Mengele, that's not me, that's my sister. This is my home that they remodeled. They remodeled my home.
This is after,
in
after the war?
1953. Somebody who went to the village took a picture and brought me back to show how the house looked. It didn't look before nothing like that. This I worked with my father in my office. I had a typewriter at that time. A typewriter was not like to have today a computer, like to go to the moon. But we were very rich people, so we had this kind of stuff. This is also a picture from home with my 2 nieces that went to Auschwitz, and our garden. lots of fruit.
What was communication like in your village with the outside world? Did you hear much about what was going on?
Yes, we did. We never believed. When somebody came and told us that they took the Polish people or the Czech people, we didn't believe it. We did not believe it.
When was the first time you heard about things
When
happening?
I was 16 years old. I felt it before because it started other places and we felt it in certain ways.
How?
We were not allowed, for example, I was not allowed to go on the train because I was Jewish.
Who did not allow you to go?
The Gentile government, I was wearing a yellow star.
When did that start?
It was, I don't remember dates. I don't remember dates. It was more or less a year before we went to Ghetto.
So the Germans were already...
They were already in Romania and in Hungary. And I was not allowed to go to school anymore. We were not allowed to mingle between Gentiles anymore. We had to be after a certain hour home. We were not allowed to go out in the evening.
Do you remember anything before that, preceding that, in terms of hearing about what was happening to the Jewish community?
We heard about ghettos and we heard about camps. We did not hear about Auschwitz. But we heard a lot to be alert what's going on.
And what was the response in the...
I think my father
community?
didn't believe. And the family was so close, they didn't want to separate from each other. So we figured whatever we are going to do, we are going to be together. We had from Budapest some soldiers in our house. They took few rooms for soldiers. And between them was a soldier with a white band. It means the soldiers who converted from Judaism to Christianity. And this was a young guy, and he fell in love with me. And he begged my father he should let me go, and he will hide me. And my father didn't let me. The family was very close, and he decided wherever we go, the whole family goes together. They couldn't believe. I think they didn't believe. We didn't believe. We did not believe. This is also a picture when I was 13 years old. I was playing the violin. They gave us quite a good, they tried to give us a very good education to what they could. Then I went to another city and I went skiing. They gave me the opportunity to make sports. This is my father, before he went to Auschwitz. That's the way he looked. He was a very good man, with a heart of gold. Then I went to my sister, who lived about 200 miles away. She was married.
When was
before
this?
the war.
Before the war.
She was married. And I went there to stay with her because she had a baby. I think I have a picture of her. She had a baby, and her husband they took them already, all the young guys, they took them to the army. And we were here, 7 friends and ladies who a part of them were married and a part of them were singles. All of our boyfriends and husbands were taken away, so we made a picture together. And
To the army.
And each of us sent a picture. Maybe one of them will reach the picture. They should see that we are all alive.
You started to say about the Hungarians coming in. That was your first
Yes.
memory of the war really
Yes.
touching you. Can you
Yes.
recall any particular episode?
I want to finish my before.
Sure.
Okay. This is a picture of my sister's wedding that my father built a tent for 500 people for this wedding, and she was my adopted sister. She was my half sister and not a real sister. This kind of person he was. This is my grandmother, my father, and his sisters and brother. This is also a picture from the factory where my father worked. This is my grandfather, my father, and an uncle. And that's the way I looked when I went to Auschwitz, a few months before I went to Auschwitz. And that's the way I looked when I came home, but I have hair already here. It was already a year and something. It was a year after.
Going back a little bit, you mentioned the first time the war touched you was when the Hungarians
Yes,
entered.
then I felt it the most.
In what do you particularly remember about it?
We started being very limited, and father couldn't do any business anymore. And the bank didn't give us the money anymore, and we didn't have food anymore. And it started being bad. They hit already people on the streets. They threw stones on our windows.
Who was doing this? The
Gentiles,
The Gentiles in your village?
The Gentiles in the village, the one that were very good friends with my father all the time. Everybody, even our ex-living mate, who said all the time that we are like a family of us, she took a part on that too. An interesting thing happened. They had a cat. My sister had a cat. And when they took us to the ghetto, when I came back from Auschwitz, people told me that the cat was staying and she didn't eat. She was sitting on the same place till she died. So it started being bad. We started being hungry. We didn't have food. We had money. For us it was a little bit easier, but we still didn't have food. What most remained in my mind is the day they took us to the ghettos. This was my biggest shock. Most probably losing the home. Losing my home, losing everything.
Was there any preparation for that? Were you
Me
warned?
prepared? No. Me, personal?
Were you warned ahead of time?
No.
Tell us what happened that day.
Soldiers came in with guns, told my father to open the safety deposit bag. We had a deposit bank in our house, and take out all the jewelry and all the money and put it on the table. And all the children, whatever we have, jewelry, whatever we have, put it on the table. If you didn't put enough, if they judge you that you have more, they beat the person to death.
These were German soldiers?
These were Germans and Hungarian soldiers. So we put on the table everything what we had. Then most probably they were satisfied because they didn't hit my father. And they told us that in an hour we should all be outside, and we are going, they didn't even tell us where, should be outside. We had a carriage and horses, and everybody took a little bundle, how much you can carry. And the whole village, we were all on the streets with the carriages and horses and on foot, like you see it in Fiddler of the Roof. And they took us to the ghetto. And the ghetto, they placed us in houses in a certain street. By me knowing German, they put me in the office. And I had to make the list for the people whom they took to the crematoriums. I typed there, and by my father being such a personality, a known personality, they decided to send him first. And they brought back a letter from him to the other people who remained in the ghetto, that we are all fine and the whole family is together. There is nothing to worry about.
You said the whole family. How many people went?
7, us.
Oh.
And they brought my father's sisters, all of them we were in the same ghetto. The whole few villages, we were in the same ghetto. That we are all fine, nothing harm is done to us, and we are all in a working camp. So the people who followed us, if Mr. Fried says it's okay, it's most probably okay. So the first transport we were, I don't think I can talk about it a lot. We'll see.
Can you tell us how long you were in the ghetto for?
Pardon?
How long were you in the ghetto?
Very, very short. I was 6 weeks or 5 or 6 weeks, very short.
What were conditions like in those 5 or 6 weeks?
We had, let's say we had a room like that, with 10 beds, 10 people. It wasn't important. We didn't care. I didn't care that. I didn't care the conditions, as long as they didn't kill us or they didn't hit us, because they hit. We didn't have food. Whatever the ghetto had, we ate up. If one had more, they gave another. These men with the white band smuggled in one day in the ghetto, and he begged my father to let me go with him. And he brought us food when we were there. A few times he did it. As a matter of fact, I had some pearls from my mother that I still had them. I don't remember how they still were in my possession. I gave it to him. And when I came back from the camps, he was in touch. He wanted to give me back the pearls. But I came much later and we got lost of each other. I don't know about him anymore. So he brought us some food. Some people smuggled out in the middle of the night. They went to the Goyim, to the Gentiles, to ask for food or to buy some food if somebody had some money. And we were there for 5, 6 weeks. Then they put us on a train that they are usually using for kettles. And without food, without water, without nothing. 2 children died, and an old man died too. Old man was 45 years old. For me, it was old at that time.
The whole family was together?
The whole family was with me. Not my uncles and not this family. Just my father, my 7 sisters and brothers. The husbands were already taken. They were not here with us at all. And we arrived to Auschwitz, whoever arrived.
How long do you think it took?
I don't remember times at all.
Okay.
I'm sure that it's very easy to find out. I have no idea. I know it took days because from where I am till Krakow, it's far away. It must have taken a week or 10 days. When I arrived in Auschwitz, a band was waiting for us. They were playing the music, and they put us in a line, and Mengele came to make a selection. Whoever had children went right away on the left hand. I didn't know at that time what's going to happen to them or where they are. I had no idea. Then he took me out with my sister because we looked alike, because he looked for twins. And I had very much to convince him that's not me. This is my sister. And they took them right away from me. I didn't see them. And then they selected the people, and they took us to a very big room. There's lots of showers on the ceiling. They undressed me completely naked. They shaved my gorgeous hair. This is the... I was 17 years old, long hair up to... I saw them falling. And they gave me a striped dress and a pair of Holland shoes. And they put me, first of all, under the shower. I should shower. And they take us, and I was selected again. If I don't have anything on my body, some blitz, something. And they took us to the camps, to Auschwitz, to Birkenau. I didn't believe what went on. I didn't believe. When I came there, they put us on one, how did you call this kind of, where we were sleeping?
Bunk.
A bunk, you call it. We were sleeping 12 girls. It was no room for 12 girls, so we were laying on a side. When one was turning, everybody has to turn.
Was there any member of your family with you at that point? No.
I didn't have anybody. Everybody went to Auschwitz, and my twins, they took away in another place. When I was there, they had a Kapelltester, a lady who was in charge of the whole block of the people. She was already so hard that she told us, "You are crying? What are you crying? You don't even know what's going on to you. You see this fire outside? This is the crematorium. Your family is burned over there." In the beginning, I didn't believe it. I didn't. I said, it's impossible. It's impossible. But later on, I even worked there, so I know. Life in Auschwitz, starting from the morning. They wake us up very early in the morning. We had to stay outside 5 in a row. It was 25 and 30 below zero, without stocking, without underwear, only my dress and my shoes. My wooden shoes, the Holland wooden shoes, they look like a boat. We were waiting there for hours till the Germans came to count us, and God forbid somebody didn't run away. You couldn't run away. We were all surrounded by electricity, with electric tires. We couldn't run away. But they count us twice a day. They count us in the morning and in the evening. Then they gave us breakfast. It was a cup of black water as tea. We got a slice of bread a day that was so thin that you could see through, and a slice of margarine and a slice of cabanos, leverwurst, a kind of leverwurst. This was our food. And they took us to the bathroom once a day. All of us got diarrhea, so we took the dishes that we get our food and we made on the dishes. If we were lucky to have the dish. Because sometimes we took away the dishes because we know what we are doing. The first time when I went to the bathroom, that was a very big hall, with lots of halls, and everybody went in for a certain time to the toilet. When I passed, I saw myself in the window. I turned to see who it is. I did not recognize myself. Absolutely not. When I started looking a few times, I said to myself, it's impossible, that's not me. I remember myself in the mirror, another person. So, and we didn't work there. I stayed there for a few weeks. Every few weeks, they made a selection. They put us outside naked. Mengele came with a stick in his hand, and boom, boom, boom. After a while, I got a rash on my body. They decided if I have a rash, I have to go to the crematorium. It was a special block where all the people were gathered in this block who were waiting when the transport don't come. They would take these people to put in the crematoriums. In the meantime, they kept them over there. They put me there. In the meantime, my two sisters had better conditions than I had because he used to make research on twins.
This is Dr. Mengele.
Yes, Dr. Mengele. So they didn't cut their hair. They had a little bit of better food. They left him. Can I have a drink?
Yes, of course.
They left them the dresses. They didn't take away their dresses. And when my sister found out where I am, she managed to come, and she was climbing over a wall because this block we are surrounded with a wall. We shouldn't bring the diseases to the camp. She brought me bread, and she knew already where I am going because we know already I know already where I'm going. I know already by that time. And I was waiting and I was sitting there. I don't remember. Times I don't remember. Some time. One day Mengele came there. And it was not a long time after I was in Auschwitz, and I wasn't skinny yet. And he came, I don't know, it was something that I was sentenced most probably to life. And he passed me. And he told me in German, was machst du hier, mein Schwanz, raus. And he took me out from there, just from the blue. Don't ask me why, I don't know to the very day. What happened, where happened, how happened, why it happened. He just took me out from there and put me back in my camp. And when my sisters know about it, you can imagine what kind of happiness it was. And we decided whoever remains alive comes back home and we'll see where we are. We know, by that time I know already what's going on. But they gave us brom and the food. We should stop menstruating.
Well,
we didn't have the period. They gave us brom, a certain drug. And we were all drugged. I couldn't think like I think now, because the people would be crazy if they would have their logic. They gave us in every food. We could feel it because it tasted. We didn't have our period. And we were all drugged, you know, we were like zombies. We could see the crematorium working. We know that yet another transport is coming in. Another transport is burning. So, but we were drugged. And I was there for a few months in this block. Then they put me to another block, in another camp, also in Auschwitz, but in another camp. They call it the gypsy camp, Zigeunerlager. They put me there, and there I started working. I was working, they took the whistle. The whistle was a flue of water, whom they want to take from one place and make a canal to another place. So I was working there with my dresses that I told you how I was working, and my feet and my hand get frozen, and I was beaten to death from the Germans because I couldn't work as hard as they wanted me. When I came home from the camp, I still had my stripes on my back from the beating. Then when my hands and feet were frozen, they took me back to the camps, and they put me, I worked the chambers, to clean up the chambers, to clean up. I found there the teeth from the people, and the dresses, and the hair, you know. I was working there for some times also. Then I was working, I was waving.
You knew at that point what had gone on in the ghetto?
Yes, I know already. Oh, then I know already, absolutely. But I know what was going on, definitely. I know I had no family.
Going in?
Pardon me?
Did you see people going in?
Yeah, no. Because they went in afterwards when I worked to take apart. I will talk about it, and you'll know why I didn't see them. They took them with the train straight in the back. You didn't see them. Straight in the ovens. You didn't see them. I just sort out the dresses, the hair, the gold teeth, and artificial teeth, some rings you found, children's hair, the smell you could feel. Then I worked. I was waving. Because my hands and feet were frozen. I couldn't work outside anymore. They put me to work indoor. And I was there for 9 months in Auschwitz.
During any of that time, do you remember thinking any particular thoughts or having any particular feelings?
My feelings were very numb, I must say, they were very numb. I know what's going on, but it's interesting to know how strong the will of living is. My happiest day in my life was when I found peels from potatoes in the garbage to eat. It was my happiest. I was happy. And I wanted so much to live. I don't know why I want to live so much. For what? I don't know. I wanted to survive. I lost contact with my sisters. They were in one place, I was in another place. I lost touch with them. Before the Russian came into Auschwitz, they used to come to put bombs on us. They used to put us out, that they should see that we are there. They shouldn't throw bombs on us. We could sit a whole night in snow, freezing. That's the way I passed 9 months. By the 17th of January, I don't know why this date remains on my mind very much. The Russians came in, and before they came in, they took us, a group of people who were working there, to take apart the chambers. They shouldn't find the chambers. So that time I found much more than I found before.
Such as?
Such as, if we didn't, some bones that we are not burned completely. Some parts of bodies that we are not completely destroyed. We put all these kind of things on buses, not on buses, on cars, and the Germans took it away. And then they took me to Auschwitz. Auschwitz was not, I was a Ravensbrück and this was an Auschwitz. It was 2 miles from each other, another camp. And in this camp they gathered us all.
In Ravensbrück or in Auschwitz?
Yeah, it was, they were 2 miles apart from each other. In Auschwitz they make all the researches and all the twins were brought there, and the doctors who take all kinds of measurements between their nails, between their hairs, to distinguish between them. And it was a better camp than when Ravensbrück where I was. It was the dead camp. Over there was a better camp. So they took us there and they kept us there for a few days. And then we went on foot. 6 weeks. No shoes, no dresses. January the 17th was 25, 30 below zero. We were going. We were running away from the Russians. And whoever couldn't go, were shot. Just on the side, without any problem. You couldn't go, we go back. And that's the way we went for 6 weeks. The minimum of food, minimum. Then they put us to sleep. I slept on the snow. And when a person sleeps, the body gets cold. So I had a little bit of hair already. And when I put my head was still a little bit warm, was probably from my walking. And when I fell asleep, it was frozen. When I woke up, I pulled my head and all my hair remained there. The little hair that I have already. That's the way I walked for 6 weeks. Then I came to Reisenstadt. And Reisenstadt was not Reisenstadt. I don't remember if it's Reisenstadt. I don't remember. They put us in another camp. And from there, they sent us to camps. They sent me to a camp in Neustadt-Glewe. This is very close to Hamburg. And I never saw so many hair in a head, how many lice I had. And all of us. It was very dirty. We were sitting all the time and killing the lice. I was skinny already. I lost weight. I was ashamed of myself. I was so little. I was working there. We were hiding the aeroplanes from the enemies. So we were pushing them and covering them with trees that the enemy shouldn't see it.
Pushing the airplanes? Pushing?
The aeroplanes. We were pushing the aeroplanes in the wood. And we were hiding them. We were put trees on top of the aeroplanes to hide them from the enemies if they are coming. The Americans or the English will come to throw bombs on them. They don't see them. We were hiding them.
Where did you get the strength, you and the others?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know. I don't know to the very day. It's a miracle to the very day. I was sentenced to life, that's all. It's impossible other way. Because I came home, I weigh exactly 33 kilos, 65 pounds. So you can imagine how strong I was. I don't know. I had no idea. And I was very dirty. It was a very dirty camp. In Auschwitz, if you have one lice, you went to crematorium. Here we were full of lice. It was so dirty, terrible. I was there, I don't remember how many weeks it was. I know I was there till I was freed by the 3 nations. I remember that one day we saw the Germans running through the window, and we didn't know what's going on. But we had the underground was there, and somebody from the underground came in.
The underground was in the camp?
No, somebody smuggled in from the underground. How they came in, I don't know. To tell us that we are going to be free soon, but we should not go out from the camps. We should stay there before let the Germans first go away, because they will kill us. We couldn't believe it. You can imagine we didn't believe it, but we saw it, something going on. I have to tell you that this minute I will not forget in my life. The lady who was in charge of my barrack, of my place where I was staying, of my tent, had pliers. I don't know from where she had pliers, because they didn't let us have these kinds of things in the camp. She went to the tiles. There we didn't have electric tires like in Auschwitz. And she cut them off, and we start running. Maybe you know where we ran, I don't know. Everybody was running for food. First we were running for food. I came in a German house, and I found the fat from the pig in oil. I was drinking oil and eating this fat of the food. Very, very big percentage of people died of diphtheria because of eating no proper afterwards, because we were very hungry. I didn't have anybody. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know nothing. I was running from one place to another. Maybe I'll find a piece of bread here. Maybe I'll find. We were going in the gardens to look for something, you know, on the earth. It was already springtime. And I want to go back to the camps. I don't have where to go. I don't know where to sleep. I don't know where to go. And I found few ladies also, and men that were running also. And we decided we will go together. Let's keep together a little group of few people. And we were running. Very many were shot. Very many died. Very many were sick. And a few of us who remained reached a camp that was taken over by the Russians. I'm sorry to say it, but I said it a million times, that I thank God that befried me from the Germans, but boy, I had from the Russians not a better time than from the Germans at all.
What happened?
First of all, they raped on left and on right, everybody. Whomever they could, they raped. They put us up in houses, and they didn't want us to go. They want us to stay, and they want us to take us to Russia to go to work. It didn't help that I showed him my tattoo. It didn't help that I told him I was in Auschwitz. It didn't help anything. They were worse than the Germans a million times. No German ever touched me. Never. It wasn't for their pride to touch a Jewish camp girl. But from the Russian, I was scared to death. How I survived, I must tell you. They put us up in houses, and we decided 4 girls and 2 men, one an older man and one a younger man, that we are going to keep like a family, and we will start going home. We want to go home to see if somebody is alive. From going from one place to another, I don't know who between of us, for sure not me, I wasn't such a big shot, found a horse and a carriage. So we were rich already. We have a horse and a carriage. We don't have to go on foot all the time.
Were these people from your region, from your area?
No. 2 were from Czechoslovakia. 2 were Polish. And the 2 men, I don't even know from where they were. But we kept like a family. We decided we'll be more secure to be 7 with me, 7 together than 1 person. But when we go from one village to another, we had to go to the village hall and had a paper that the Russians call it propuska, that we are allowed to go to the second village. Otherwise, on the border, they didn't let us through. We had between the 2 Polish girls who spoke Russian. And one of them was a girl who was willing to sleep with men. So whatever we found, we kept her like gold. Whatever we found, good food, good dresses, good shoes, we gave it to her. She should save us. And we went for weeks like that, from one place to another, without food, without anything. We arrived in one village. And a very high-ranked man, Russian, with an accordion in his hand, stayed in the window and saw us 5 girls with 2 men, and he says in Russian, "Come here." We came there and he said, "Listen, you want to go to another village, but I have a proposal for you. We have a party tonight. We need girls. We are going to have a party with us, and tomorrow you are going." Now I said to myself, I know already my results. And I said to him, I don't know, God gave me sometimes ideas that I don't know from where they come. And I said to myself, if I'll say no, then for sure I have to say, I will be yes. I says, you know what, it's a very good idea. Maybe I learned already their tactic. We would like to have a little bit of fun. We come from Auschwitz, we are young girls, we didn't see men for such a long time. Let us go home. We'll wash, we'll clean, we'll come like human beings. And he trusts me. And we went home. We went home. I'm honest with you. I told the girls, whatever you do, I don't care. I don't stay. And I start running away by myself. And I ran away. Started being night, and I see motorcycles are going, and I ran in the woods, and I hide. I let the motorcycle pass, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran. I ran the whole night. And I came in a village, and all of a sudden I hear, hop! 2 soldiers, Russian soldiers. I said to myself in Jewish, oh God, I said, oh my God. Rabbeinu Shalom, I said, a guy told me, you are Jewish. I said, yes. I said to myself, I ran away from an officer, now I fell to two soldiers. I told him, look what happened to me. I ran away from, this is you. did you see all these motorcycles on the street? They are going to look for you, because he was so hurt that you could do to him such a thing. I says, please, if you are Jewish, I lost my family, hide me. He said, listen, what I'm going to do. I'm scared myself, he says. I'm going to put you, I'll hide you. He put me on hay, on an attic. I made myself like, a grave over there, and he gave me a bread with water. It was, and he says, and I'm going to watch for your people, because they have to pass here, all of them, and I'll put you together. But you don't come out before I'm coming for you. It was an angel from heaven. I stayed there the whole night. The second day, he came for me, and he found my girls. But my girls are angry. They want to kill me. They just want. The officer came, and they made him troubles. And they told him they're going to take him to Sibir, and they wanted to kill me. It took me a long time till I make up with them, and we went further. We came further, all of us, and we had things like that a million times. We came to another village. They put us up in a house in another village. Another officer fell in love with me. He wants me. He just wants me. He started being already more a gentleman. He's going to give me a nice chas. For them, a chas was like giving you, I don't know if you have such a diamond. And he likes me and he wants me, and I said the same thing. Okay, in the evening we meet, and I let him go, and I leave my girls again. And when you have cows, when the cows are having the drops and the urine,
yes,
goes out, and it was a village. I was hiding in this lake of urine, and this I was hiding. And I saw him coming, and I saw him looking for me all over. And I managed to save myself again. It's the second time. The girls didn't want me anymore, because they say they have troubles with me. And I went by myself. And I went and I come to a train station. And I found lots of people who left the camps and the station. Everybody was looking, one go to Warsaw, one. People were going, nobody knew where. East you go. I said to myself, what can be wrong? I will go to Warsaw's closer. I remember geography from before. Warsaw is closer than Berlin. So let me go to Warsaw. So went in on the train.
You were going home.
I go home. I decided with my sisters, if one remains alive, we are going to meet home. I go to see who is alive, who remained, who is there. I know that I'm only by myself. And I'm altogether 18 years old. Came on the train. And they had the trains they took from the Germany, from the war. They took wood, and they took everything they took to Russia. Everything. Whatever they could. And some Russian guys came in. The same story. I love you. He will give me spats in Russian. He will give me to sleep, and he will give me food, and he will give me work, and he will love me, and he will love me a great deal. To make a long story short, I opened the door and I jumped out from the train when the train was driving somewhere close to Warsaw. Start going again. But all over where I went, I found people, because everybody was going. It was like you see in Fiddler of the Roof. People are just going. Till I reached the station where the joint took over.
The Joint Distribution Committee.
That's right. And from there, I was saved. I was saved in a way. I know that I have Jewish people, and I can turn to somebody.
You're fine.
It's okay. They took me home.
The joint.
Yeah. What means home? My home was destroyed. And a family lived there who came earlier than I came. There I found all my pictures on the attic.
Who had them? Who had
They
the
were
pictures?
just staying on the attic, just thrown out on the attic. They didn't want them. There's no use for them. There was no use for them. When I came home, I was 33 kilo. As I told you, it's about 65 pounds. I was so short. When my brother-in-law's sister met me the first time, she said, I was told that you are a tall girl. Where are you? I didn't go to bed without having a bread and water close to my table or in bed with me. I was always afraid that I'm going to be hungry. I didn't stay in my village. I stayed in my grandfather's village. And I found one uncle, my father's brother, who was married to my stepsister. And it was a very peculiar environment. The people didn't have any more the drugs to take, so they were thinking. The people started drinking. They start crying. They start sleeping with each other. They found nobody. People come home, one person from a family, another person from a family. The houses were destroyed. Everything is destroyed. No money, no food, no nothing. The loneliness was very big and the pain. Then the pain started hitting. I found my uncle. His wife and the 2 children went to crematorium. My other brother-in-law, his wife and his child to crematorium. My 2 sisters are not here. People who were in the village told me, I saw your 2 sisters were shot when they evacuated Auschwitz. The 6 weeks that I told you that we are going, they were shot. You have no sisters. So I know I have nobody. No reason even to live. You have nobody. The pain started. The pain. Terrible. At that time I didn't want to live. It's no use. My 2 uncles were religious people that I was staying with them. The other uncle wasn't my real uncle. He was married to an aunt of mine who was to Auschwitz with 7 children. They were religious again. They came home much earlier than I came. And they recovered a little bit before me. And luckily to them, they kept me insane. Now, it started a problem. My brother-in-law said, I was married to your sister. Very few Jewish people came home. You have to marry me. I says, I don't want. I'm young. You are old. You were like my brother, not like my...
How old is he?
I was 18. He was about 40. It was a big problem. I wanted to go back to my home. I didn't have in the village anybody. A family was staying there. I came to my home. I see how it was, and the pain started hitting. My sisters are not here. I have nobody. No use to live. No use to live. And I was living like a zombie. Life wasn't important to me anymore. The morality was very low. The people were very depressed. Whomever you found, every day another person came home to telling you are expecting this man. He was shot. He was married. This was killed. Every day, bigger disappointments, bigger disappointments. One day, a friend of mine, who lives now in Toronto, he doesn't live anymore, unfortunately, he died, came home to see if somebody is alive. He saw me. So, you are alive? I said, sure, I am alive. He says, you know that you have two sisters in Germany? They were freed by the Americans. I says, you are crazy. My two sisters were killed. He says, you have two sisters. I know you from home. I'm a friend of yours. I used to come to your home. You have two sisters. And I found some money and jewelry that we were hiding when before the ghetto started. And I said to him, you get $2,000. It was lots of money at that time. It was like $100,000 today. If you go back to Germany and bring me a note that my sisters are alive, because I don't believe you anyway. And this guy got up to Germany and went to my two sisters, says, you know that you have a sister home. And they told him the same. You are crazy, because they told me she was shot. Make a long story short, my sister left everything. They're supposed to come to the United States because who were freed by the American had a possibility to come here. They got up and they came home. All of a sudden I heard my sisters are here. It was a reunion that it's impossible to describe in words for human beings. It was very painful to see that we lost the whole family. And we have nobody. We are alone. But it was a reunion that I still have somebody. It took time. We were staying there together, and we started recovering a little bit. The hair started growing a little bit. I started getting heavy a little bit more. I'm not so skinny anymore. I still sleep to the very day. I don't go in a hotel or in any place in the world if I don't have food or water, to the very day. This remains with me forever. I'm always scared that I'm not going to have food or water. And both my sisters got married, and one of my sisters had a baby. And it was a big thing because they were twins and they had all kinds of experiments on them. And the other sister couldn't have children. So she had a girl. And when the girl
this was in your
already
village
came back. Then she came back already in the neighborhood, in Hungary.
Mm-hmm.
When the baby was a year old, the baby fell down from a step, and she got hurt here, and she started bleeding. And my sister thought that she lost an eye, and from the camps and from everything together, she got a stroke, and she died at the age of 26. And when she was in the hospital, she gave the child to my other sister and told her, I give you my child, keep her, as long as you don't have children. My sister took her, brought her up, sold the jewelry for food for this child because he was living with the Russians. To the end, her father took back the child. It was for my sister terrible. But luckily, after 13 years, she managed to have 2 children, gorgeous children, nephews. They are very dear to me, very special. This girl lives today in Brazil. She's married.
Your niece.
That's right. Unfortunate, not too close relationship. Unfortunate. But I'm very close to my 2 nephews that I have, and their wives and their children. They are marvelous. Then I decided I don't want to stay there. I'm going to go to Israel. So I had a little bit of money that I found from before. And I took a lift, you know. A lift. This is a very big, like a house, you know, you put in furniture to send it overseas. How do you call it?
A van.
I built a van, and I took on the feet of my furniture, I made holes and I put in dollars and gold or whatever. And somebody turned me into the Russians that I did it. And here you are, Shula, again. They are coming for me, and the results were severe. Lucky me. Sentenced to life.
They sentenced you to life.
I'm sentenced to life. I have to live.
Ah.
I was the president of the women's division for Mizrahi. And the Zionist organization smuggled me out.
This was one
from Romania in 47. And natural, where did I go? To Cyprus, another camp. The English took me. We had a fight on the water. They throw bombs on us. Children die. People die. They dragged us with their boats to Cyprus. Another camp for a year, Shula.
The English did this.
The English did it, the fine English.
This was before Israel became
Before
a state.
Independence Day, before Independence Day.
So you were in a camp once
I was
again.
in a camp another year, Shula. No food, no dresses, no houses. I lived in a real tent. A real tent. 4 people in a tent, 6 people in a tent. That's the way I lived for another year. After a year, Independence Day from Israel, they let us out from Cyprus. And that's the way I came to Israel. I got married and divorced in Israel. Married from the same reasons like lots of camp people. I felt guilty that I am alive. And my husband will commit suicide if he doesn't marry me. I married him. And after 3 years, 23 years of marriage, with 2 gorgeous children, I got divorced. And I left Israel. I left Israel because my daughter got married to an American boy. Is it interesting this to continue up to today or not?
Briefly, yes.
My daughter got married to an Israeli, ex-Israeli, living in the United States. He came to a wedding that I was invited. And I didn't want to go by myself. And I told her, come with me. I was divorced. And I felt terrible. I was the only one person divorced in my whole group, my whole generation altogether. And I said, I'm going to give the present, and I come home. And I came there, and this guy fell in love with her. They got married. And they came to the United States. After a while, I came to Europe. And when my grandson was born, I came from Europe to the United States and the Yom Kippur War broke out in Israel. And I wanted to go home because my son is there and my daughter is here.
Your son was in Israel?
In Israel. I wanted to go back. They told me that they have more important things to ship now to Israel than me. I cannot help the war anyway. I should stay here. In the meantime, my children taught me my life is going to be easier. And I went to Canada. United States didn't accept me. Canada accepted me. I lived there for 5 years. I was teaching in school as a fashion designer. And after 5 years, I moved to Cleveland, where my daughter lived, and she divorced. After 1.5 years living there, I came and I lived in the United States.
What kind of work did you do here? What kind of work did you do?
Me?
Yes.
All the time in fashion. I was all the time in fashion. Then I bought a store here in Long Island. And here I am.
Here you are.
And my children are here, and I would like to show my children.
Sure.
This is my son, my daughter, and my granddaughter.
Still different.
These are my 2 grandchildren from my son. And this is my big grandson. He's 18 years old.
This is your daughter's son.
My daughter's son.
I'm sorry, what are your children's names?
My daughter's name is Dita, and my son's name is Ben. And my grandson's name is Oren, and my granddaughters are, one is Sivan and one is Liat.
Are they named for anyone in your family?
No, they were named, the Israeli modern people, they don't give any more names after their families. My children's names are after my families. Mm-hmm. My son is after my father, and my daughter is after my mother. But the modern children don't do that anymore. But it doesn't bother me. I don't want them to have my name. Doesn't bother me. I'm fortunate to have very good children. I'm very fortunate. And here I am.
Did you talk to your children about your experiences?
Not really. I think they will see the first time my real life. And I tell you why I didn't want to talk about it. First of all, I didn't want them to treat me the way, because I suffered, because I passed so much, because I didn't want it. I wanted to have a relationship, a friendship relationship. And I know if I would talk to them all the time, first of all, I make them sad all the time. I bring them enough of me, because the children of Holocaust survivors have their share.
How? In what way?
First, I gave them, I was very worried about them all the time. So, and this is terrible to bring up children like that to the very day. If my daughter is in my house, she has to call me when she arrives in her house. And I don't think you do that. Somebody does it for their mothers. She is a grown-up woman. She's 41 years old. I don't go to sleep because she calls me. God forbid if I call up and I know she's not home and I don't know where she is. So she knows it, but she is special. Special that she handles me. Because it's not easy to handle a Holocaust mother. She knows more than my son. My son was less with me. She was more with me.
Did you tell her? Is that how she found out?
That she is special?
No, about your experiences.
She knows because she reads a lot. They asked me very many times I should make a tape. And I think one of the reasons that I really made a tape, more than giving for myself so much, I feel much better now than before when I sat here. I couldn't even concentrate. I couldn't even talk proper. They asked me very much. They wanted to know my life. And I did it because I want to dedicate it to them. So I didn't want to talk to them about it. I talked very little. And I wasn't even able to talk a lot. I can talk easier today than I talked a few years ago. I don't know why. Maybe by being involved with the group of the Holocaust survivors helped me. Kathy has a big part of that. She put me that I must speak in front of children in a school. It was very hard for me. I was very nervous, but I spoke. And she told me it was very good, and I didn't feel so bad. I wasn't so scared. I'm always scared because you live through the emotions again. And it's very hard to live with that all the time. It's very hard. So I don't want my children to continue treating me because of the tape different. I want them to treat me as a human being. It's not their fault what I passed. It just happened. That's my generation. So I want them to have it. I want them to be happy as possible. And not to feel sorry for me. They have enough.
Well, we thank you for sharing your story.
Well,